Hi, Mom 2016. Alexa here. Welcome to my e-portfolio where I will attempt to ask more questions than I answer. This is a teaching blog I started in 2014 during the BC provincial teachers strike. It was then I decided that I wanted to become an agent of change in the current education system without understanding as I do now what that means. I knew you had to be inside a system in order to really change it. Little did I know how deeply ingrained I already was and how being an agent of change also meant changing myself so profoundly. Enter Royal Roads, an institution that did just that, change me. You must first build a foundation before you fly. That's what Jim, one of the yoga instructors at Royal Roads Fitness Center, said. He has been teaching yoga for 44 years, but is very young at heart and has a playful spirit. I asked him for his permission to quote him, by the way. While you're in it, do it. Throw energy at it, are a few of Jim's other gems. These sayings would stick with me throughout the day, and I would repeat them to myself like mantras when things got tricky, uncomfortable, or uncertain during residency. Yoga has taught me a lot about my life, both personally and professionally. What happens on the mat is the same as what happens off of it. It was important for my own self-care and learning that I had a little practice during residency, and Jim really helped to anchor my understanding of all my new learning as it swirled around in my head. Challenging assumptions and leading with intuition. Intuition has always been a part of my teaching practice. I rely on it to help me understand my students. For the first time, I am asking myself to move beyond intuition itself and think critically about its implications. Susan Thackeray said in her teamwork presentation that through inquiry, people can advocate for self. This inquiry around intuition that I am turning towards applies to teamwork too. I need to ensure that I am asking questions and not just assuming I know what someone else might be feeling. My intuition led me to pick up a book entitled Dear Mr. Blueberry for my daughter the week after residency. It turned out the book was more for me than it was for her. It echoed what I was thinking from the second week of residency, Susan Thackeray's words, and the article What is Inquiry by Hee-Soon Bai that we were asked to read in EDLM 510. Dear Mr. Blueberry is about a student who corresponds with her teacher over summer break in regards to a whale that has taken up residence in her family's pond. After each response letter from Mr. Blueberry, the student, Emily, ignores her teacher's assumptions that the whale could not exist, but still continues to listen and learn from him. She takes Mr. Blueberry's reasons why there cannot be a whale in her pond, flips them, and uses them to help the whale. The story acted as a reminder that we can never underestimate what our students already know and what they are gleaning from the assumptions we present to them. What students hear may be completely different than how we intended it, but it is still meaningful for them. We will never know why it is meaningful unless we ask them. Mr. Blueberry and I may have the following in common as it is presented by Bai. We become attached to the power of predictability, control, certainty of belief, security of facts, but life refuses to be reduced to our expectations. In the end, we have to learn to navigate in the sea of the metaphysical and work with life's uncertainty and complexity. Inquiry is this type of navigation. You can hear Vale's White Water echoed in that as well. Mr. Blueberry was not ready to navigate the sea of the metaphysical with Emily and her whale, but I am. As one of my goals as an educational leader, I will start asking more questions and make fewer assumptions. Brings me to building trust of myself and others. Vale speaks to how his concept of spiritual learning helps us to make sense of the world. He says another word for permanent whitewater is confusion, the problem of what to believe, whom to trust, what events, technologies, groups, and organizations, laws, and traditions can serve as anchors of meaning. For myself, trust is a particularly powerful way that I create meaning. It is through relational language that I show others they can trust me and discover who I can trust in all aspects of my life. I also learn how to trust and empathize with colleagues in this way, furthering my own understanding of myself in relation to teamwork. The ITP personality report adds another layer of how I understand my learning styles. The survey process brought up a paradigm surrounding trust and how it operates in my life, both personally and professionally. It accurately reflected my learning practices in the areas of trust and altruism. The report stated, you are very trusting of others and believe that everyone will follow through on commitments. You are willing to give your own time to help others and are sensitive to their feelings and opinions. While this behavior can create a positive team environment, being too others focused can lead to a burnout or falling behind on your own responsibilities. It's true. As many may have heard me say, I catch other people's emotions like a cold. I need to remember to set boundaries and hold team members accountable so that I can be accountable to them also. This brings me to humble inquiry. Shine says humble inquiry is the fine art of drawing somebody out, of asking questions that you do not know the answer. Shine outlines a targeted goal that I will use for improvement in my own practice. He says, how can we do better? The answer is simple, but the implementation is not. We have to do 3 things. 1, do less telling. 2, learn to do more asking in the particular form of humble inquiry. And 3, do a better job of listening and acknowledging. A relational approach to reflection is how I plan to implement these ways of doing better, both personally and professionally. I want to use Shine's 3 things to support my intuition and mitigate any assumptions I might make that would take me away from further growth in my practice. Which brings me to critical friendship. I had a couple of stop moments at Royal Roads. The first happened in Royal Roads Library when I saw the cover of this book, Mindfulness and Critical Friendship. Leslie had taught us about the power of critical friends that day. It really helped me to draw out my understanding of dialogic reflection and what it means to me as a learner. It even has a chapter co-authored by Pamela. Pretty cool, hey? Brings me to taking risks. Pamela really encouraged me to follow my instincts, and if it was interesting and meaningful to me, then the learning would be powerful. This was true of my second stop moment at Royal Roads Library when I saw the cover of this book. The photograph in front of the cover entitled Aboriginal People, Resilience and Residential School Legacy had a profound impact on me emotionally and as an educational leader. The photograph on the cover shows a priest in a black robe smiling and facing towards the camera with his hands in his pockets, while young male students gathered together off to the side of the frame with their backs to the priest. In the distance, the school building is situated. The 3 levels of separation in this picture and its metaphorical implications of a broken learning community made me stop and think. This photograph stirred within me feelings of sadness and frustration. I researched the picture and attempted to discern where it was from. I came up empty-handed. There is no information as to the origin of this picture anywhere in the report. The Aboriginal Healing Foundation's website, which was disbanded due to lack of funding, does not have information either. I did more digging, worked with the librarians at Royal Roads University, and since submitting my e-portfolio, I've spoken directly with the Legacy of Hope, which is the new umbrella of the Aboriginal Healing Foundation. And they were as shocked as I was that there was no information for this picture. They are currently investigating its origins, and I should be hearing back any day now. Exciting, interesting, meaningful to me, and completely different from where I thought I was going when I got to Royal Roads. But that's part of the fun, isn't it? I felt compelled to somehow shift this picture because of how it depicts students. I view this image as an example of existing school data and intend to unpack further the ways in which visual representations could help me draw out implications for action research, which leads me to my inspiring colleagues who helped me to take meaningful risks with my learning here at Royal Roads, each of them teaching me something different with their own gifts and talents to share. Thanks, everyone. It's because of you that I learned so much, and I can see my way through a little clearer on how to become an agent of change, while staying true to myself. Greenfield, as cited in Jacobson and Cypress, says, what the angels of systematic reasoning and administrative science must comprehend is that the issues are decided by people who bring all their belief, passion, habit, frailty, or nobility to the choice that faces them. Whatever the choice before them, they are unlikely to make it on the basis of calculated, fact-driven rationality alone. It's these people here that are main reasons I make all my decisions. Gifts I'm still unpacking from my time at Royal Roads residency. We were reflecting on the ferry, Davina and I, to all the gifts that we would have to unwrap from our learning when we got back home. This was true, I think, for a lot of us. Thanks to Pamela and all of our instructors teaching us to trust our guts and allow ourselves to play and be inspired, I've decided to look at talking circles for my research investigation moving forward, taking an Aboriginal education perspective and learning more to become a better global citizen. And I need to ask more questions of my own learning as well as for my students. And that's it. That's how I've been changed by this place, and I know I will continue to be over the next 2 years. Our instructor Pamela asked me on the 3rd or 4th day why I was so positive. It wasn't a judgment, but I think she might have been conducting an appreciative interview on me. I told her life is short, you've got to smile, you can't sweat the small stuff, as my mother used to say, and you've got to enjoy it. So let's take a deep breath, leap off our mats, throw energy at it, and while you're here, while you're in it, do it, as Jim would say, and enjoy it. Thank you. Trooper, play us out.
Very good friend of mine told me something the other day. I'd like to pass it on to you, 'cause I believe what he said to be true. Said we're here for a good time.